myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot see.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Ray. 3 amigos, which means I'm joined tonight by George, Mitch, Steve and Keith to look ahead to the next 7 days at Newcastle United. No game, of course, this weekend. FA Cup weekend, sadly, we're no longer taking part in that, but we are in the semi-finals of the League Cup. As we all know, we carry a 1-0 win into Tuesday night's second leg, hopefully getting our first appearance at Wembley since 1999. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But good evening, lads. And as always, we'll leave it up to the people in the chat who maybe come up with a few topics. But I'll start with Anthony Gordon. That's the breaking news, George. We've heard this name quite a bit in the last 7 to 10 days. Been quiet in the transfer window, but Newcastle, by all accounts, have agreed in principle a deal with Everton, 40 million plus add-ons to sign 21-year-old Anthony Gordon from Everton. Probably, the worst kept secret over the last few days. He hasn't been to training for 3 days. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, good bit of business as far as I'm concerned. Not a bad price for a player of that age and that talent, who will now fall under the blanket of Eddie Howe and his staff to knock some of the rough edges off and make him a useful player for us. His big plus for me is that he appears when he was with Everton, he was capable of playing across all front 5 positions, even through the middle on occasions. So that's got to be a huge plus for us. And the other thing is, having seen Isak's pace at Southampton the other night, we've got another greyhound coming because he's very, very quick indeed. He did give our fullbacks a run for their money when he was up here with Everton. He blotted his copybook by falling down every time one of them touched him. But they were lucky sometimes to get close enough to touch him because he is a quick player. So for me, good bit of business, not a bad price for somebody at that age, and it will enhance our options. Give us a lot more options than we've got at the moment, which I think is what we needed. Rather, for example, Howe will now have the option of playing Isak upside Wilson if he wants to, and then still have another flyer to fit in with Almiron and San Maximin and it extends the bench is what I'm trying to say very clumsily, and I think that's great at this time of the year for us. And
the unsubstantiated stories that are coming out, George, on social media at the minute, you might not have had time to see them, is that Leicester are in advanced talks to sign Brazilian winger Tete from Lyon. Now, the significance of that particular story is that a lot of the journalists who, write about the Premier League and in particular are jumping on this quite rightly so by saying that this could be the deal that pushes Maddison out the door. So lots of copywriters now, as well as talking about Anthony Gordon coming to Newcastle, saying that Maddison could be next in a deadline day deal.
Well, once again, are they sitting listening to 3 amigos? Because you lads have been saying for since the window opened it would be 2 in and 2 out. It actually looks like it's going to be 3 out because we're going to get 3. Looks like Fraser's going and Darlow's going, and we've already got rid of one. So I think that would be incredible. That would be a really good window. But apart from that, what a positive statement to the so-called top 6. Not only are we sitting in a Champions League place and in the semi-final of the Carabao, we're strengthening it right across the park and up front and in the middle of the field in a number of positions. So if that happened, that would be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. What a window that would be. And I would be, you'd have a job wiping a smile off my face, and you're having a job doing that now because we're in the semi-final. So, yeah, that would be really good business for me, Steve.
Yeah, a lot of people asking about Gordon. Is he cup tied? I'm afraid he is. He played in the 4-1 defeat to Bournemouth, so he won't be available for semi-final or, dare I say it, final action at all. Mitch, Newcastle said they were going to leave it late, and they certainly are, but not too late, and still time to squeeze another one in.
Let's come back to what we've said all along. Then you picked up on it early in the window. Everybody associated with transfers at Newcastle United was preaching patience. January's a long month. Let's see what happens. We're in a fantastic position from an FFP point of view that we can take advantage of clubs like Everton, who are not in a good position from an FFP point of view. And if you think about this as the player they were talking about 60 million for not so long ago, if the deal is 40 million, then that's a good bit of business. Yes, I know he's going to divide opinions. My attitude is it's better when he's our shithouse than somebody else's shithouse. I'd rather have him as ours. He has the ability to be that difference maker, and that's at the minute what I think we need. We need a difference maker. We need somebody who can unpick the lock, who can do something a little different, who brings something different to the table. And I think he does. As my dad's already said, he can play in any of the front five. Technically, if we would add Madison to that, he could as well. Excuse me. It does make me wonder why are Darren Eales, Amanda and Maydad and Riyadh. It's not just for the E Grand Prix. I don't know.
Well, it's warmer, Mitch.
It's warmer, but it's not bloody dry. You not seen the video I've posted from today?
I did, yeah. But it's still warm rain.
We're plodging around the bloody streets at the minute.
You're not getting any sympathy playing that small violin to me, mate. Sitting in -2 and 3s and 4s over here every week.
Hey, you should have heard the message I got off the little one this week, because she's just moved back with her mum, bless her. And I got this voicemail off the little one. Dad, help! It's -4 degrees. Help! Anyway, okay, fair enough. I'll not play that little violin anymore. But I think they've said all along to preach patience, and we're in a position. Again, people who say there's a budget, there's not a budget, there's not. There's never has been, and there never will be. Everything's done on a case-by-case basis, and if the right deal's there to be done at the right time, they'll do it. Yes, there's an INFFP. That deal for Wood is spectacular from an FFP point of view, by the way. We'll end up paying 10 million for him. He kept it up, and we've got his wages off the books. That's just crazily good. That's a good deal. Darlow going on loan, and then with a view to move, he deserves some first team football somewhere. And if Fraser's on the way too, again, from an FFP point of view, that helps balance the books and balance the wage to turnover. I think we're in a position where we're only going to get stronger while other teams are scrambling. And Leicester and Everton are two teams that, from an FFP point of view, are scrambling. They're scrambling for the next year and for the year after that. And so if we can put deals together that are advantageous to us, we feel like we're getting quality players at a reduced amount who Eddie Howe can then bring into the fold and develop and bring on, who are ready made for the Premier League. They've already got Premier League experience underneath their belt. We're not bringing a random in from Brazil and hoping he's all right. We're dealing with people who've already been there and done it, and they've got stuff on the books to show that they have. And if that's not a positive thing, I don't know what is. Yes, Gordon's character does sort of push the envelope of the no dickheads policy, perhaps, but we've got to trust the process and trust the people involved in the process. And if they think he's a brilliant addition, then bring it on.
It's interesting because, people are getting the knickers in the twist. And, I'm not saying this about one of our chatters. Hold on, I'm going to put this up. Michael, I'm not saying you're getting the knickers in the twist, so don't take offense. But this is an example of the alternative view of Gordon. I'm so disappointed with the Gordon deal. Way too much for an improving, out of form player with rotten stats and character concerns that could disrupt the best dressing room in the league. A lot of that conjecture, Michael, I would say. A lot of it is what you see in the public domain. I described him this week on one of the shows as a bit like David Speedy, somebody who can do the job but also be the thorn in your side when you're the opposition. He's the player that you hate on the other team, but you'd love to have him in your team. And the kid's 21. His stats, and I'll tell you what, I can't take credit for this. Richie Southern at the Surf Cafe put out a tweet yesterday comparing Pedro at Watford and Anthony Gordon. Now, a lot of people on this show, me included, thought Pedro would be a good acquisition. Another young player, somebody that Eddie could get his teeth into, look at, develop, bring on. His stats are no better and no worse than Gordon's. And he's playing in the Championship. Played in the Premier League as well, of course. But ultimately for me, I think Gordon's a good signing. But we've all got different opinions. Steve, what's your take? Are you pro Gordon or are you anti Gordon? Are you going to be singing Flash Ash with me? Well, you better, Steve, because I'll probably be the only one singing it. But John Justice Allen's done the T-shirt already.
We're going to make it a duet now, then, are we?
We can do, yeah. Me and you.
You know what? I mean,
can I do the Brian Blessed? Gordon's alive.
It's one of those things, isn't it? I mean, this is football's about opinions. We all know that. But I agree with you when you say that a certain element of the press. There's stuff coming out of Liverpool from the Evertonian side about Gordon, and that's just because, let's face it, they're rock bottom. They're going nowhere. They're frustrated. They're annoyed. They're taking it out on certain players. I was at a talk-in last night. There was all sorts mentioned. Some by the press guys saying he's not even an Evertonian. He's really a Liverpool supporter. He's a reverse.
Oh, God.
Jamie Carragher. We had all of that. It was all light-hearted. It was all done in jest and this type of thing. But yes, you can look at his stats. I think the first thing you're going to look at, he's played 4 seasons in the Premier League, so he's got 4 seasons behind him. He might not have played many games in the first couple, but he's got 3 goals in 16 games this season, and he's got 4 goals in 35 the season before. So he's only scored 7 goals in the Premiership. So if you want to look at it purely on paper, you would go, well, he's not a prolific goal scorer, is he? And that's what happens, isn't it? You look at the top line and you just take it, and then you start to build a negativity around him, Yes, he's a worky ticket on the pitch because he gets kicked and he doesn't like to take it and he likes to dish it back out, And he's I suppose as a young lad coming into the team at 18, 19. He's had to stand up and he's had to grow into a man, and he's got to be able to take those kicks, and he's willing to dish it out as much as people are, and he's not frightened. So that in itself tells you the sort of mentality that he's got. I think it'd be a great acquisition for Newcastle. I'm sure Eddie will get the best out of him. Yes, it's a lot of money, but let's face it, what's 45 million or 40 million these days? It's absolutely nothing. And I think I can remember on Wednesday when we did the show. Mr. Penman actually did say that by Sunday, when he did the professionals, he expected Anthony Gordon to be in a black and white shirt or very, very close to waving it around his head. So, you know what? Spot on, Stewie. Well done. It comes off and it just shows you, it wasn't a speculative guess. It wasn't them flying a kite. People need to understand that. But you know what? I'm just pleased that we're, like George said, there's 3 gone out. We're potentially 2 with Maddison. I'm sure we'll talk about Maddison later on. It's all part of improving the squad. Again, it was mentioned last night about it doesn't have to be a like for like. It doesn't mean that because you're buying someone you have to get rid of somebody else of an equal stature or an equal talent. You want to blend this squad. You want players because nobody's going to see through. And if we get into the Champions League, then you can expect 7, 8, or 9 quality signings because we haven't got the depth within that squad to see us through a Champions League run. So let's 14-year contract.
I think it's worth mentioning as well the situation he's leaving behind. How absolutely desperate as a club Everton are at the moment. He's literally being chased down the street by his own supporters and told get out the club.
Yeah.
You know, that is it's a vile environment for all of those players to be in at the moment.
And a manager who's been banning certain players from the training ground. Where have we heard that before?
Yeah. And it gives it an interesting insight into Everton that they've got on that short list Bielsa and Dyche. And you couldn't get two different managers, which tells you either somebody in charge at that club doesn't have a clue or just doesn't have a clue about what direction he wants to go in.
Yeah.
And as a player, I wouldn't want to be like that.
No, definitely not. First of all, Keith, how's the aches and pains? I hear you went for a roll around down in Southampton, mate.
There was a video gone. It was on. It wasn't me. I mean, the video shows John and Steve Hasty just along, and they were with me in the second half.
So was it Bruce Willis's stunt double?
Bruce Willis. I tell you what is that I got a contract for films after that. I went there. I was stood there, and I'm certain it was when it wasn't the goal. That's the worst thing is it wasn't the goal neither. It was when he should. It was when he blazed that ball over the top. It was when I went. The whole crowd surged forward, and I ended up 3 rows. Your feet were still in our row, and I was laid backwards, head first, looking up at the sky. And my neck was on the third. I'll tell you what, so I was just planted across the seats. And these young'uns, I mean, they were great, like these kids in the 20s. And they just looked at me and they were like, oh my God, look at this bloke. And how he's so new, colours of gadget and all kinds. And they just like wrapped his back up my feet. But God,
John Justice Allen, I bumped into him last night at the Peter Beardsley event at the Surf Cafe, and he just said in the second half, him and Steve took turns to hold your collar.
you just couldn't. I mean, even at the end, it was just mayhem. It was madness.
Did you
Steve,
need a set of them reins for him later?
They said we'll go to Wembley. I went missing before the game. But if you see Steve Hasty and John, they never stood or sat in a seat or anything. They were stood in the aisle for the whole first half. And you couldn't see it's right, Steve. You couldn't see the aisles at all, could you?
That's right. You know, you couldn't. We've decided we're going to get one of those AirPods, and we're going to attach it to the back of his collar next time, so we can keep a track of where
I went. It was me. I'm getting in and all, but anyway, Anthony Gordon. I think I'm like a lot of football fans. I think when you're passionate about your team, I think you love to hate people, and what you do is you build sort of a wall up against people. So when you've got people to come, and typically him, he was rapid fast. And that's one thing I did say when we played Everton. But you tend to not look at what he's doing in good terms. You tend to think of what he's doing wrong to your people. So you chilled with Trippier, you actually swore Trippier. So you build that thing up. But when you read this week, when Johnny Allen was as keen as mustard for him, and start looking at stats. But the main thing I started looking at was start reading some articles. There's a lad from Everton put something on and said. And he said, what will Chelsea get? Because he was going to go to Chelsea last year for, believe it or not, 60 million. And apparently Chelsea bid 55 million. So he hasn't changed in a year or come down in price. He's 21-year-old. But when you read that, I didn't realise he's the fastest player in the Premiership last season. And the only player that's faster this year is Mudryk. So that speaks volumes because pace is the modern game. Pace is something you can't buy, you can't develop. You've either got pace or you haven't. It don't matter who trains you, you're never going to put lightning pace in. And apparently he's got that in abundance. So you start to see this touch. So this week, there was an article come out today that said, Dyche has turned up and the kid's gone back to training. And there was rumours starting to circulate on Twitter that he was going to get talked out to coming. And by that time, I was getting disappointed because I was starting to read everything positive about him and take him on his merit, that if this lad come to us. The other thing I thought about was, if Eddie Howe got hold of a lad called Joe Linton, who, apart from Neil Mitchell, I think the world thought couldn't kick a bandor and run away. And yet he's made Joe Linton a baller. He's made Joe Linton one of the best, I would say, middle centre of the park footballers in England. He has a supremacy. And I just love watching Joe Linton. He's frightening nobody. He's just such a powerful, strong athlete. And you see how Eddie Howe's taught him out to being a goal scorer and taught him to winning the ball, chase the ball. And you look at the little skirmishes he has with people, and you sit there and you say, he just looks like a very hard man. And for me, like one of the first names on the sheet. He's one of our diamonds now. I put him in the Bruno Botman thing. Joe Linton,
Yeah.
I don't want to sell him. I want him to stay there. So when you turn a Joe Linton around like Eddie Howe did, Steve Bruce didn't have a clue what to do with him. Not many people would. Then you get hold of someone who's less advertised, like Ryan Fraser. He looked as though he just did not want to be on the football pitch under Bruce. But when he's come on, the lad's put a shift in. He's worked and he's had a go. And what he's done whenever he's had his minutes for Newcastle this season, he's run himself into the ground. Now, I think the games, like away games and that way, he's been one of the ones who's been doing the miles. Then you look at Shah, class player, but I think a lot better with a polish that Eddie Howe's put on him. I think, Howe and Tyndall have made a proper top central defender out of him. And then you've got to look at Miggy. People going about Miggy and they say, oh, he's had his purple patch, he won't come again. Almira will come again. He's got pace to burn. He's got the hunger. And what Eddie Howe's done with him, I think his purple patch was all Eddie Howe caused. So now put that kid who's 21-year-old and who's been run out of his own hometown club. That'll be a lad that'll want to settle in Newcastle, want to build his life up in Newcastle. And I'm positive. I'm feeling optimistic. So people said about there being no money. I think Neil's touched on it, but I think if you use the phrase needs must, Newcastle's got as much money as they need. And when they need it, they'll spend it. And it needs must means you'll always have money and you'll never have to you might have to justify it for FFP, but you won't have to justify where you've got it from. It is interesting that Amanda and Darren Eales is over there now. And come on, it's not for any Grand Prix. It's purely to run past them what they're looking to do. So I wouldn't be surprised there wasn't 3 players come in, because it's the reason I say this now. I just wanted to touch on this point today is I don't think we'll ever in the next 5 years get a time when you'll see Liverpool and Chelsea 9th and 10th. In the next 5 years, I don't think that will happen again. I think next season Chelsea will compete for the top 4. I think they've got that many world-class players aboard. It'll be hard to manage them. There'll be a lot of tears, but I think Chelsea will come strong. I think Man City and Arsenal will stay there. I think Liverpool will come back, and I think Man United will be back. I think Man United look like a different team already, and I think they'll spend. I think next season, the only team I see maybe not getting there is Spurs. And that might be optimism talking, but to then turn round and not buy any players, which is what people were fearing, I just thought, no business people do that. You don't get your club to 3rd in the Premier League and a chance of getting 2 things. One is about the 100 million of funding for the FFP, but the biggest thing is the fact, if you say to Mudrich or you say to Felix, we're in the Champions League, they'll go. If you say to them, we played in the Carabao Cup final and we won or didn't win, it'll mean nothing. And whilst it means everything to us as supporters, because it's silverware that we've been starved of, it won't mean anything to players that we need to attract to get us in that league. So for me, I think it's absolutely critical that Newcastle use the fact that we've got the 3rd, that Spurs have had a wobble, Man United had an early season wobble, Chelsea and Liverpool, unthinkable. And really, there's just been really Man City and Arsenal there. I think it's business intelligence to seize on that and to put 2 or 3 players in that's going to keep you there. And if one's Maddison, and if one's Gordon, and then if they bring a defensive midfield player in, I think Newcastle will finish 3rd. And I think you'll only realise at the end of the season when you go for players and you see who is willing to join. There's a lot of people I've noticed this window appear not have been willing to join and appear to want to go to other clubs. And for me, I think it's great that we're going to get British players. I think that's an added bonus because I think they've got Premier League experience. I think it's going to take Chelsea players a long time to settle. It doesn't look like it's going to take much time to settle, but you can't put if you had a drone office with architects in, you can't put that many new draftsmen in and it all just gel and hit the ground running. Your business goes down before it picks back up. If you played local league football, you bring 4 or 5 players in, people get their noses pushed out, the atmosphere dips, the dressing room's never the same. But then it brings to the last point about the dressing room. People are saying, well, there's a lad on there. And I love people's opinions. I think it's dead healthy. They say, why would you let a lad come in like this and ruin the dressing room? I just got, and I respect that. And I could say what you're thinking. Do you honestly think when when you see Joe Linton squaring up to anybody in the league who wants a bit, or you see Dan Burn, do you think they're going to let a 21-year-old lad do that? But to be honest, I don't think the 21-year-old lad's going to want to do it. I think he's going to look up to the Kieran Trippiers. I think he's going to look up to these players. And I'm talking about the Dan Burns and even a lad who doesn't play, the likes of Lascelles. None of them lads are going to let anybody come into this dressing room and start playing the big lad. And to me, I think you'll see, I'm just backing Eddie Howe, mate. I'm excited. I'm delighted we've got the first in, because you're not going to get 3 if you don't get the first one in. So I'm delighted, but I just think that this lad, he'll get a crash course in all the things. I mean, have you noticed the Wilson jumped on what Murphy did the other day? It's like anything. That's Murphy's character. It was humour, but they're a great squad at settling people down. They're a great squad. They didn't take a photograph at Southampton away. Was it? You know why? Because it's just half time.
Job's not done.
So it was intelligence for Howe to say, no, there's no photograph. We'll take that on Tuesday night at Newcastle. So to me, the dressing room, the backroom staff, and everything else will make this lad be worth 60, 70 million. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited, and I'm a backer, and I'll support him.
Yeah, there's another important point that was picked up on last night when we were talking to the press guys, and that the question was asked: who has the final say on signings? We've now got Dan Ashworth, we've now got Darren Eales, we've now got the commercial guy, we've got more people coming into the back room of the scouts, etc. And also we've had Mirdad and Amanda. And what was said was, well, first of all, Mirdad and Amanda have taken a step back. They're not in the day-to-day control that they were. But what was also said that Eddie Howe has the final say. And all of them agreed with when the statement was made. They'd all heard that. So what you're looking at here is a signing that Eddie Howe not only wants, but is sanctioning. So he's been offered it. They've gone out and they've done a deal, and he wants the player. I did also hear a couple of weeks ago that we did actually put a bid in for Felix, but it was only 3.5 million. And it looked like it was going to happen. That was the loan fee. Yeah. And of course, what happened? Chelsea came in with a ridiculous offer of 9. And that's crazy. And at that point, Newcastle United sensibly turn around and go, no, walk away. Yeah. So somebody starts mucking you around. We've now got the confidence, and we've got the people behind the scenes who are happy to say, walk away. That's
they made it clear already to so many people that we're not going to have a fans pulled down by anyone.
Yeah,
and I think that's a huge statement.
I think it's right there.
But also, I think I look at the people talking about the price. I think 45 million for a young English talent now is probably about the same as 10 million 5 years ago. Yeah. I think we're talking different numbers now. We used to be talking telephone numbers. We're now talking international telephone numbers. There's a few more zeros involved, and I think for me, if Eddie Howe thinks that's the guy that can make the difference at Newcastle United, and he feels he can drop him into that dressing room, and the dressing room will sort it all out and bring him on board, because we're showing we've got a little bit of that shithousery in the dressing room already. Yeah. I mean, what Murphy did the other night was amusing when it's ours. When it's somebody else's, it's not amusing. I think so. We take all that all go.
Another important point is that we're rattling off players who are running the dressing room there. Yes, they run the dressing room in terms of what, talking to each other, etc. But the man who really runs the dressing room, as you and I know, is Eddie Howe. Yeah. Eddie Howe runs the dressing room. Eddie Howe runs the club. On a playing perspective, like the statement I just made about the signings, it's his final say. It's also his say on what the players do on the pitch, how their attitude is, and he reins them back in.
You could see
it's out there to sort it out for him.
How he was in Riyadh when we had Sean Longstaff, Jamal Lascelles, and Jacob Murphy on that stage, and how he was in the audience, and he was beaming like a proud father. Yeah. The way they handled themselves on the stage, the answers that they gave, the answers that they've obviously been told they should steer towards to give a certain impression and a certain unified point of view from the dressing room about what's the most important game. Jacob Murphy, once again, talking about, well, it's Arsenal, because we've got a chance to reel them in a bit. Then you think, wow, okay. And he's sitting there with a big smile on his face. You're absolutely right, Steve. Eddie Howe controls and runs that dressing room. And I think if anybody steps out of lane, they'll know about it pretty damn quick.
You said about Gordon earlier. You said, I think George brought a point that was really valid. He said people have reacted to how, when Gordon's been kicked. You know what I mean? So when Gordon's kicked, I think he's reacted to people and he's been, throwing handbags. But if you show me a man who likes being kicked, I'll show you a weirdo.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who likes being kicked? I mean, like, I used to play football. I used to go berserk when I got kicked. You know what I mean? Because it's your competitive edge. But I'll tell you what, look at nobody worse than Bruno when he got kicked at Southampton. He's snapping at everybody when he's getting kicked now, and he's getting kicked quite regular. But like I hope he keeps his great personality, his temperament, because Bruno's getting kicked around the pitch at the minute.
But it's called spirit, Keith. And if they've got no spirit, we don't need them at St. James's Park.
You're right.
Just
you're right.
Spirit. That's what it is.
It's always a difficult balance with players with a certain personality. If you take that personality,
and also
look
at the way they protect each other. Look at the way when Bruno gets kicked, who's straight in, Shaw straight in, Joe Linton.
That was my point. Dan Burn a lot. They just get so you're gonna have Gordon get kicked. Gordon's going to get kicked for pace. Bruno's going to get kicked for skill. But you're gonna look back and there's going to be people piling in. Just go and get away and push away. So I'm not worried. I just the one thing that excites me is the pace. Right? The pace is you can't buy pace. And if you've got a lad who before Mudryk arrived was the fastest. I mean, Mudryk looked like Speedy Gonzalez. He looked horrendously fast. But they reckon the Gordon's not much slower, and it'll be a hell of a thing to get a lead edge.
It's not just pace either. It's pace with the ball at the feet.
That's right.
Being able to do it and keep control of the ball at that high level it's a killer. It kills fullbacks in particular. If you've got a fullback who isn't quite on the pace, he's either sitting on his backside sliding towards the touchline where the player's away with the ball, or he's late onto the tackle and that's a foul. It's the kind of thing that we'll thrive on.
If you notice when Bruno does them killer passes, the usual 1-2s, it's always to Almiron. He's the one who's got the lightning pace that gets them few yards.
Yeah.
He's going to have two players capable of doing that now. Because Bruno's going to put Gordon in opens he's never been in.
If you stick Isaac in the team, you'll have three.
Oh, there you go. There's three.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking that as a defence, well, which one do we cover?
Yeah.
And this is the kind of options it opens up. Is that you're going to have centre backs looking, saying, well, which one do I go to?
Yeah. Don't forget SM as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I was smiling at myself when you were making the comment, Steve, about them saying Gordon's not a true Evertonian. He's actually a Liverpool lad and all that sort of thing. Well, we're used to that sour grapes up here, because as soon as anybody up here steps out the line, the Mackems on I mean, it's ridiculous. It's so sad. On the other hand, the other way to look at that is how many Mackems have we signed have become great players for us. I mean, Paul Bracewell, for example, and Stan Anderson, if you want to go all the way back. So, yes, there's rivalry, but the notion that somebody's not going to play their game or be professional simply because they move across Stanley Park is ridiculous, and that just sounded like sour grapes to me.
I mean, Liverpool have had loads of players that were Evertonians. You Michael Owen, Rush.
Absolutely.
You can rattle them off. Anyway, let's move on, Steve.
Well, we're not going to move on. I'm going to come back to that because Ashley Hannon's asked a good question. But I do have, obviously, as you know, on Fridays, we do have plenty to get through. So I'm going to go through Tweet of the Week first. And thanks to Kev, who didn't send this in as a lookalike. He said, here's me two dogs down to watch Seeing Red Star. Although one does have a rather similar look of Steve Hasty on the left there. But thanks to Kev for that. That wasn't a lookalike.
He would never fall into that trap. He wouldn't. He's too nice.
He is. He is. Wayne Bennett, thanks for this one. I had seen it before, but I mean, to be honest, it's always good when you see it again. Poor old, he says, when Cuthbert just ain't giving it to you right. Harder Cuthbert, harder the scorers in the game for Chelsea women. It never actually gets any worse, that one. It is a good one. This one from Wayne Bennett as well. Juventus's new logo. Very clever, Wayne. And good to see that Todd Bowley is planning to buy the 15 points that were deducted from Juventus. Well, he might as well. He's bought everything. Bought everything else. This was great from Paul Darcy. He went, "Who's inspecting the pitch? Tobel and Dean." Inverness Caledonian Thistle. The club can confirm there'll be a pitch inspection. Have you seen the clip of it?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Looking for like Luke Skywalker to fly through and his bloody land speeder and all the things out of Star Wars. Andy Bulford from used to play for Dunstan. What brand of cigar does Botman smoke during matches? Which is a good one. Thanks for that, mate. And Harry Kane still getting the stick. Dougie Morris has just found Harry Kane's football in the River Wallace back in Northumberland.
Go on, Dougie, lad.
Very good.
Jimmy Moore, he says, tweet of the week. My old friend just called from county jail and asked me to post bond. I'm not sure how it'll help, but I'll do anything for an old friend. And Dave Carson, new banner at Everton's ground. Yet to be named new manager, out. Thanks for that, Lee. Sean Dyche, you can stick on it now. Stephen Kennedy said, Steve Hasty in 10 years' time. Enjoy life before gravity pulls it all down.
Hey, lad. What's he like?
Hey, what about 10 years' time, Stephen?
Exactly, yeah.
Pretty kind, Brady.
What was that?
Danger, cliff face.
Dear me.
Very good.
And if any Newcastle fans are interested, here's Anthony Gordon's 2023 highlights.
Oh, my God.
Oh, clever. Clever, Paul.
You know when somebody brings you a shot, you know it's going to make you sick, but you've got to drink it anyway. Same vibes, says Andy.
Interesting.
And Anthony Gordon, complete shock move to Liverpool. Old news that now, average striker, but very good. And a lot of people, saying, well, what are you getting your knickers in a twist about Gordon for, this, that, and the other? Well, it is his dress sense, I guess. Rich Oliver says, I've got no issues with Anthony Gordon. We can forgive arsehole behaviour when he's our arsehole. However, he's not getting away with these strides in West Denton. Definitely not. When you play all those games in cup football to win a trophy, lads, and then you get this. And it's the woman's face on the left actually laughing as he walks off with it, like unbelievable. Imagine that on your mantelpiece.
What the actual hell is that?
Moving on. Vince Smith for tweet of the week. All the single Murphys.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
And this one from Vince, race campus thing I've ever seen. He says, I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here's my handle. Yes, he got a bit of stick for that, Murphy, on the internet. Great, Jay Golland, Palace away. One lad's pissed himself.
Oh, my God.
So somebody worse than Keith Patterson, apparently, but in a different game there. Jimmy Moore goes, no thanks, McDonald's. I'll just have the nuggets. Try the new anus powder. It's got a little familiarity of faulty towers, that, hasn't it? And this one, tweet of the week from Jimmy again. The chicken here is amazing, but the restaurant name isn't very welcoming. Ian Hull is back. But Dad, I don't want to go to the party. You're going. The Beastie Boys fought for that, right?
Oh, very good.
Oh, very good.
Very good, that.
Followed it up with this one. Loud tribute, ABBA tribute act performs at local retail park. One disgruntled shopper told us you could hear the drums from Nando's.
Brilliant. Love that one.
Love that one. It's good.
Oh, lad.
Geordie lad, it's not fair, but they put 11 players on the pitch. Only Liverpool should be able to do that, says Jurgen Klopp.
He's complained about everything else.
No, he hasn't.
Manx pie. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Nick Pope. That was literally superb that last week, by the way. This one, Northumbria Police have kindly placed a speed camera outside the Stadium of Light this afternoon so Sunderland fans can experience what it feels like to go home with 3 points. I love this one on Romeo Beckham's Instagram as well. Sleep tight, Dad. after the Arsenal beat Manchester United. Fantastic. This one, Randy Blacketer. Jesus meeting the Beatles in 24 AD. I love the reply from Ross Lawson. Hey, Judas.
Oh, dear. Dear.
This is a great picture. In 1986, Maradona wore a shirt that read "No drugs" and Platini, "No corruption." Years later, Maradona overdosed and Platini was arrested for corruption. It is superb. Very good. And Channel 4, 9 p.m. tonight, Embarrassing Bodies.
Very clever.
And this one from Jack.
Lovely.
I see the minibus has just arrived to collect the Johnson from Davos. Very good. You'll not see that one, George, but I'm not going to read it out.
I'm not seeing many of them, actually.
Mick Edmondson says the views are that bad that there's a telly erected so you can see what's happening. Premier League ground, disgrace. Reckon it's my 15th visit here and it's hardly changed since my first 42 years ago. That is the Crystal Palace end, where I've been myself with the television, which is there just so you can, see the action. Ben, Palace mob singing F the Saudis for half the game. Meanwhile, on the advertising boards, Saudi and Egyptian developers. The irony.
Do you know the best thing about that is listening to their fans talk about ownership, and they've got two Delaware companies that own most of their team, and they could be owned by anyone.
By Saudi.
They don't know.
Exactly.
They just don't know, and they can get on the high horse as much as they like, but until that's sorted out for me, that's even worse.
Of course it is. This is never gets sick for me. Ifty sent us this. He says, "You're not important as Steve Bruce, Steve. Don't get caught up in it." And he inbox somebody who promised him tickets. If we're seeing this all the time, people scamming.
Yeah.
And once again, Ifty this time asked if we could get any tickets for the Steve Wraith stand. Brilliant. I do like it when people do stuff like that. Jason Pinter, maybe the greatest book dedication I've ever seen. From the Field Guide to the North American Teenager by Ben Phillip. This alone makes me want to read the book. And the dedication read like this. To my mother, Belzy, I would have made a terrible doctor, ma'am. People would have died. Great stuff. Jordan Cronin, take a bow, Saka. Good result for Newcastle, and if Arsenal win, although it might make winning the Premier League title a little bit more difficult. You can dare to dream, Jordan. Dare to dream. And Andrew Musgrove, following a 3-2 defeat to Arsenal, title challengers Manchester United remain in fourth, the same position they started in, behind Newcastle United.
Yeah.
Well said.
Absolutely.
Newcastle United are still the only team this season to get something at the Emirates, said Belzy.
Brilliant.
And last couple. Fessel, my partner and I did the hall pass thing, where you get to choose one person you can sleep with consequence free. She chose Ryan Reynolds. I chose Lisa from work. I haven't been allowed to go to a work function since.
That
was second. I just love this.
Oh,
one.
dear.
Graham Potter addressing the Chelsea squad at Cobham on the 1st of February. Zara, as always, thank you for sending us your tweets. Thanks to everybody else who got in touch this week. Send them to me, send them to the lads, and we'll endeavour to get as many as we can on the show. Frederick, question for you fine gentlemen. He says, would you sell ASM to finance a buy of James Maddison? You can't have both, George.
That's a good question, actually, because personally I wouldn't. Mm-hmm. They are. I think Howe's still got the capacity to get extra out of Madison, out of ASM for us, and so I personally wouldn't. No.
All right, Mitch.
If that was the deal, and we've got Gordon and another player in, yes. But that would be my condition. I'd want Gordon and Maddison and somebody else.
All right. Steve?
No, I wouldn't, because ASM brings you that little bit of something special when he's on the ball and when he's on his game. And I think he's gradually getting back to that. I think Eddie Howe's nurtured him through whatever the problem was earlier in the season, attitude, injuries, the style of football that didn't fit. And I think if ASM remains, then I think we'll see ASM blossom. So for that reason alone, and they're totally different footballers as well, totally different. So no, I wouldn't. I would stick with ASM.
Keith.
Not a chance. You knew what I was going to say.
Well, I did. That's right, and it was good that you were last today, so that I could ask you that last, because I know you're ASM's biggest fan.
Mitch brought a good point up earlier about money, and he said there's as much money there as we need, and we use the money when needs must. So why then would you go and cash someone? I saw something today which was bizarre, where a Chronicle reporter put something on in a Chronicle article, stating that Notts Forest had been quote 26.4 million for St Maximin. That was the asking price. And it's bizarre because when you're talking about general inquiries, you don't get quoted point so much of a million. That's just bullshit. That's somebody who's begging a story. But to put that out in a so-called newspaper, I found was like troubling. And I just think it's there to unsettle people. I think there's so much lies written in the press these days. But if you talk about footballers, it's playing Newcastle. Suppose you looked at Gordon, that he can come through the middle and plays an 8 or a 10. You talk about Madison, could do similar. You talk about Almiron, could come inside, could go wide. Isaac could come inside, go wide. The one player that doesn't compare with any of them, I'm not saying he's better than any of them or as good as any of them, but he doesn't compare with them is Alan St Maxim, because he's a completely different kettle of fish. When he came on the other night, my only disappointment was when he got upended, because he'd have gone on and scored, and that would have been brilliant for his confidence.
Yeah,
he could have been knocking on the door. So it's all subject, isn't it? But I come away from Southampton thinking, when we play on Tuesday night, Wilson looked tired. And when you brought Isaac on, he just looked not there yet, but my God, when he gets there, he's going to be so much special. Like, I mean, he's rapid. And he went round that defender. I mean, Miggy did the same, mind, and they missed it. But when he went round that defender, he went round and knew he wasn't there. And it's like you lads are saying tonight, you put Gordon's pace in there, you put Miggy, you put Almiron, Isaac. You've got people coming at you just won't be able to keep up with. And so for me, the one guy that can slow game down, can stop, can hold it, can do this, do that, and create goals out of nothing. And don't forget, when the tide first started turning, when we played Man United at St James's, we thought we'd get butchered when Ronaldo played, and ASM scored a goal out of nothing. Don't forget when we were going to get beat at Wolves. That would have been the second defeat of the season. We didn't look like scoring. One man decided he was going to just pull a goal out of nothing and brought a draw that day. This is a lad that needs he needs nurturing in the way that we hope Eddie Howe's going to nurture young Gordon. ASM's actually put his neck on the block now. He said, put me in the team with Isaac and let's see what we do, because they've been training together, trying to get fit together, and they've developed something. And isn't that good? Isn't that brilliant? Where two forward attacking players feel as though they've got a rapport. And for me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, I'm a simple lad. I'd start Isaac and Maxi on Tuesday night. I'd just start them, and then you've got what I'll drop Joe Linton back, and I'd take Willock and Wilson for rest, because both of them look tired. Both of them have looked tired in games. I thought Willock struggled against Southampton, but Maxi's hungry, Isaac's hungry. Let's go to Southampton from the first minute. Let's butcher that game by half time. That's what I say. Let's not mess around. We're being guilty of trying to rest players and all that shit. Let's go with two people that are begging to be on that pitch. Honestly, I think we're giving you a backside. I think Isaac and St Maxim at Newcastle in a semi-final in that atmosphere will absolutely cause mayhem. And it's not because I want one in before another. I want them all in together. but it'd be great if we had 7 attacking players and say, pick any 3. Any 3, I'll never let you down. But the one person I would keep well away is Murphy. I wouldn't be playing him at the start on Tuesday night.
I think it's all about rolling with a hot hand, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if somebody's on form, I mean, what Isaac did on the touchline was sublime.
Yeah.
There's not many players can do that. That was special.
Yeah,
that set the goal up, you know. And I think if you've got players who are champing at the bit and they want to prove it and they want to go for it, I think you're right, Keith. I think let's just roll the dice. Let's just do it. What harm can it do?
Isaac's pace. He started against that defender from nearly still, and left him 3 yards behind. Don't forget that player is one of Southampton's rising stars. We're being told that he's one of the up and coming ones, and Isaac just left him for dead. No, you can't train that in. That's got to be there, otherwise, And I agree with Keith. I'd be inclined to let him loose from the beginning on Tuesday, because whoever plays at left back is going to remember that roast he got. And there's no upsetting defenders to say, well, I'm going to do it again to you, Bonnie lad, and off you go. I should know it happened to me plenty of times.
But it'd be intriguing. It'd be intriguing if you had and for me, I think Callum Wilson's. I think he's had an illness, like some kind of viral illness or something, because he just looks tired. He doesn't look as fit. But what I'm saying is,
Keith, the suggestion I've had to me is that he's been dealing with long COVID.
Yeah, well, that would make sense, because when you see
it would. I mean, I've not. It's the first time I've blabbed my mouth about it. But when I look at how he's been since he come back, there's something missing.
Tired.
Yeah. And it's not his attitude.
No, he's got the best
his attitude's there.
Best attitude in the
club. He wants to be doing it, but he seems to get the 60 minutes and he's done.
And to me, he's a sharp burst player, but he seems to have lost a yard of pace since he's come back. He just doesn't seem to be with it. My point is, what would it achieve by resting him? It would give him a rest, and it would make him hungrier, and it will make him seize the opportunity. And if we 1-0 up at half time, bring him on in 60 minutes and let him get that goal and get his confidence back. But my point is, if I was a defender, you've got the best defence in the league, right? You've got a very, very able midfield, and then up front, where we're not supposed to be pressing for goals, you've got ASM, Miggy, and Isaac coming at you. Jeez, I mean, it was the fastest 3 players in the league. And what I'm saying is it's a perfect opportunity to say to Maxie, look, you've been shouting for your chance, son. There you go, and get on. Because I was so disappointed when the lad got brought down Southampton. If he'd gone through there, I think they'd have put a hell of a case up for him and Isaac to start on Tuesday. So I just hope he still gets that chance.
You talk about crazy press stories, Keith, though. Let's put this into perspective. We're in the semi-final of the League Cup. The transfer window ends on Tuesday at 11 o'clock. By 11 o'clock on Tuesday, we could be in the final. And you're honestly telling me that a professional footballer would walk away from the chance of playing in a cup final for the sake of moving to another club? Because basically that's what the Sun, the Mail, the Mirror, the Star, the Express, the Italian newspapers, the Nottingham News, etc., are all saying, Newcastle are going to sell them. And you're thinking, well, there's something not right there, isn't there? The fact that you've got a professional footballer who people would think would want to walk away when there's a chance of playing in a cup final. I've never, ever heard that before. I've never, ever come across a situation in maybe it's the timing. Maybe we're lucky in that respect that it's 11 o'clock on Tuesday and we're playing on Tuesday. And by 10 o'clock on Tuesday, we could be in the final. Do you honestly think in that extra hour, ASM's going to to go, I'll say.
I don't think we've got the squad to offload people like that. If you sit there and you so you turn around and you say, right, you're at Wembley, you're 1-0 down, 20 minutes to go, and let's just out the current people. You can bring Murphy, or you can bring Fraser, or you can bring ASM on. Come on, man. Steve, you wouldn't be screaming, get ASM on. It's just so illogical that you would do this. And for me, I just think that to get off his case, he looks like he's got fit. He has had injuries. Isaac looks as though he's getting towards fitness, and let them loose. Just let them loose, because hey, I'll be the first to come on here next week and say, well, I got it wrong. You was dog shit. But what I will say is, I don't think he'll let you down.
No, definitely not. I think I can't see him leaving, and I think for exactly the reason that Steve Hasty, for the exact reason that Steve Hasty said that he doesn't want no player's going to leave with this, with a potential cup final, just not going to happen. And ASM, no matter what his problems have been, and what they may continue to be, I mean, there's a player in there, and would be daft to let him go, before the end of the season. I think the summer might be a completely different story, because I think again Newcastle's got a money to spend again, and I think it will be completely different. But we'll wait and see. Ashley Hannon asked this before, so I know we're going back to Gordon, but why not? It's another player that's coming in. Who moves over for Gordon, and who do we drop for him? I mean, it's not the way that Eddie Howe works. He blends players in. He gets a look at them. He gets a look at them when they're his player and trains them, George. And until he's happy that they're going to be able to, work in the same kind of way and just see how they settle in, I guess. But, what's your thoughts on Gordon? He's left-sided, isn't he? He's a left-sided forward.
Naturally left-sided, yeah. But as I said at the very beginning, he's capable of playing across all front positions, and that's a massive bonus for Eddie Howe. It means that he's anybody gets a knock, anybody that feels unwell, he's got somebody they can put in straight away who knows the Premier League, who's a British player that knows the Premier League, and that's got to be worth a lot of money as well. So at this moment in time, I'm not even thinking about who would get dropped. My view is he goes into the squad, and the lads have already alluded to the fact we're squad's thin, and if the Sheffield Wednesday debacle doesn't show that, then it should, because there were just times when we were woefully missing, and been other games where we have. So no, he becomes a very, very important squad player for me. I'm not even thinking about who's going to get dropped, because I don't think it arises yet. As again, if Callum Wilson's having an off day and we need a change there, then he could even slot in there. So I've got no I'm not, as I say, I'm not even thinking about who he's going to replace. The other interesting thing is that he's a left-sided player like Miggy is, and look at how Miggy set the right side on fire by coming in on his good foot from the inside and banging in those goals. And I'm sure he's going to do that again. So no, I like the notion that Gordon is a very, very useful squad player. I'm not even thinking about who's going to get dropped.
I mean, you just have to look at Man City, though, don't you? You look at what they did with Grealish. 100 million pound. He wasn't guaranteed a place, and he's had to earn his place, and he's been dropped or he's been taken out for somebody else because somebody else needs to be brought in, and that's where the manager suddenly decides that he picks a team against a particular opponent where he wants a particular style of play to be played.
Yeah.
Look, he can come into any one of the. If you take Isaac and Wilson out of the equation, they're going to be the central player. Any one of those other five positions, 4 of the 5 at least he could fill.
Yeah.
And he's either going to be done horses for courses for particular games, or he's going to be welcome relief to either give Miggy a spell or to come in on the left. If you were to go off the starting 11, I guess the raw answer is Willock or Joe Linton are the ones at risk because they're the two filling the left-hand side on the midfield and the forward. If he's going to be a starter every week. But I don't think he is. I think we're looking at somebody who fleshes out the squad, who will be played horses for courses. He'll start some games, he won't start with us. He'll be brought in as an impact sub in some games, and he'll be brought in as a relief sub in some games. So if Mickey looks leggy, give him half an hour and bring Gordon in and stick him on the right-hand side. And then you've got a fullback who's just got rid of Mikel Almiron and probably been run ragged. And then he's got another pacey left-footed winger coming at him and turning inside And that could be a fantastic way to exploit tired and leggy defenders. I think we've got to look bigger than the starting 11. We're looking at the squad. We're looking at how the squad works, and I think that's the different thing.
Yeah, it's like Mourinho said, isn't it? Mourinho always said that you had to have 2 players for every position.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it was up to them, and it was up to him which of the 2 he would play on any particular given game. And that's the way that football is now, especially with the additional substitutions that you can make. And that's another important feature of where the game's moved on. So, you know, I wouldn't worry too much. At the moment, we've got a starting 11 that just seems to put its own name on the team sheet. But we're going to have to move because it's 38 games, and if we get into Champions League, you potentially could be playing 50-odd games in a season, not 38 that you've got in the league, the 1 in the FA Cup, and the 4 or 5 that you've got in the League Cup.
I think you're right, but I don't see him put them straight in, and the reason I say that is because he didn't put Bruno and Botman in. You know what I mean? He didn't put them in. He made them wait.
No.
And I think both Bruno and Botman at the time, I was thinking, Christ, when's he going to play? You know, when is these lads going to get in? And if they are as good as people say, they were better than what people said. But I think they were better because the way he nurtured them into it. And I see something like the Liverpool game being times when this lad might get into it. But I don't see he's not going to play in the cup game. And then I don't think he'll feature West Ham. He'll be on the bench. But when you people push for an answer, if someone said to me, if you were picking your best 11, it was Wembley tomorrow, and they've all played the same games this season, you're right to say, Neil, that you'd look at the attack and left side of up front in midfield being Joe Linton and Willock. But I think that Joe Linton's better midfield than he is up front, and I think this would naturally put Joe Linton back into the middle, which is where to me his strength is. And I think then Gordon would get in that role. And I think Willock would be the. But again, for how long? Because if Newcastle playing well, gets to 60 minutes, you'd be then bringing another 3-4 subs on. And if they're playing badly and they need fresh impetus, you do that again. So just like you lads have covered so well, it's a squad effort. But I don't think he'll start straight away. And I think when he does come on, it'll be upside left.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see where he fits in when he signs on the dotted line, and a lot of names being chucked around still. Ultimately, we'll wait and see. We'll know by the 1st of February where we're at. But again, it's another acquisition. It makes this team, it makes this squad better than it already is. And players will come and go. Mitch said it way back in the last transfer window. There's no room for sentimentality. Unfortunately, there's some players who you may have, you may love, you may like. Could be ASM, could be Matt Ritchie, it could be Ryan Fraser, whoever. But these players won't be here forever. John Joe Shelby won't be here forever.
Steve, we have a number of players like that. That when it's time for them to move on, we do it with grace, and we say thank you. Your contribution to some of this has been immense. You've seen through relegations and promotions. And you've given with a platform that we now have to build on. You now go and play your career out the way you would like to and take the playing opportunities you can get. And we're going to a different strategy now, but we're doing it with thanks to you. And I think that's the way we'll have to do it. But also, because of the way the contracts work, that's going to free so much in terms of wages up on FFP.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer. We've got to do it.
Of course it is. 666 watching live tonight. If you can all hit the like button, the little like button underneath, that would be absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
And please subscribe, because we're only about 2 or 3 away from hitting 49,800. So we're 200 away from 50,000, which will be remarkable in the short space of time that we have been going. As always, halfway through the show, though, we must pay our ads. So here we go. A big thank you to all our sponsors, as always. Thanks to Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, and our website skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free, and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Garden of Healing Dispensaries, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists. You can find them at thegohd.com. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's sauces, which are handmade in Cumbria. And you can find them at mrvickys.co.uk. If you want to make an order, give them a call on 01768 210 102 or email info@mrvickys.co.uk. Thanks to Blowhole Breweries, you can get a selection of beers, and the cans are in the design of the old Newcastle United entertainers strips. Blowholebrewery.co.uk. Thanks to Melly's Carpets and Beds, laying our reputation, one recommendation at a time. The best quality around at the cheapest prices. Melly's Beds and Carpets.co.uk. Email sales@mellysbedsandcarpets.co.uk or give Melly a call on 01670 632 216. And thanks to United Group Travel Limited, UK Coach Holidays in Morpeth, 01670 362 460 or mobile 07957 141 654. Graham, your driver, Beverly answering your calls and looking after you on your tour. Some great deals coming up there. Get yourself onto the website to check them out. Thanks also to Media Arts, who do all of our videos and help us with the technological side of things. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. If you want to subscribe to the channel, then hit the subscribe button below. Hit the thumb up, which is the like button, which does us a big favour with the algorithm. And click share. Share it to Newcastle United Facebook groups or Twitter accounts or your own social media to help our community grow. And if you want to join the channel, hit the join button. And for as little as $1.99 a month, you can get some members-only videos and chances to win some fantastic prizes. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and the rest. Don't forget as well that we do events through NUFC Matters. And this one is the next event coming up, Friday the 24th of February, an evening with Newcastle United legend Steve Howie. Friday the 24th of February, Tyneside Irish Centre, and tickets are available at £50 from newcastlelegends.com. If you also go onto Voucher and search for the event, you can pick up a bargain on there. Don't forget, we also support the food bank on this channel. www.nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk is where you can find the Matchday Bucket. You can make a virtual donation to the Matchday Bucket 365 days of the year to keep helping the food bank in Newcastle. In the chat, we started a vote as well. Are you happy with Anthony Gordon signing for Newcastle? 271 votes, yes, 85%, no, 15%. So I would say that is a rather resounding win for the yeses on that score. Don't forget as well, we've got a few events coming up. You've heard the Steve Howie one already advertised. Nobby Solano at the Irish Centre, Saturday the 25th of March. Tickets are £15 from NUFCmatters.com. And if you like those little small intimate nights down at the Tynemouth Surf Cafe, Lee Clark will be down there 9th of March. Tickets are on sale now from the Surf Cafe direct. Get yourself on. Great little venue that. Had some really good nights down there over the last couple of weeks. Okay, it is time for the day I met. Big shout out to Alistair, who I see home and away when I'm there. And he met Bruno's dad at the King Power. And then he met him again with his daughter at the following game. So good to see him. And he remembered him, which is what Alistair's story was. So thanks for sharing that, Alistair. Alistair, I couldn't load the other photograph, but I could load this one. A wonderful photo with him and David Janula, obviously at the night with Pete Graves recently. But keep them coming. If you've got any photographs of you meeting famous faces from Newcastle United, then please send them our way and we'll feature them on the programme and play this lovely music. Gary says Mitch should have been a politician.
You know, that'd be diplomatic moments, you know.
Yeah. This is another interesting one again, round the Anthony Gordon, subject, and as I say, why not George? But do you think, George, that the signing of Gordon will put pressure on Elliot Anderson?
No, it shouldn't, because they've got two different. For me, anyway, they've got two different clear roles. Anthony Gordon's an out-and-out attacker, as far as I'm concerned, where Elliot Anderson has the luxury of fitting in midfield, across the midfield, and even in deep midfield when he's playing. So no, I don't think it should put pressure on Elliot Anderson at all. It puts pressure on the sense that the places in the squad are getting limited, but that's all. And I don't think it makes it any different for him. But Elliot Anderson is doing his business further back than we want Anthony Gordon to do it, and Anthony Gordon will want hammering away at the goal end of the pitch, not in the middle of the pitch. So no, I think Elliot's still got a future and a good future with us at Newcastle.
Mitch, I guess the only reason it puts pressure on him because it's another body in the squad, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is another body in the squad. Yes. But it shouldn't put pressure on him in terms of, like your dad says, in terms of that different players to do different roles. I think also, though, is it not better for Elliot Anderson to be surrounded by better players in the training room?
Yeah.
For him to be playing with a better quality and depth of player day in, day out in training. I don't see that. He's not, for me, necessarily direct competition.
No.
What it might do is remove Elliot Anderson from playing the wide forward roles and make him concentrate on the deep ally in midfield role, and then frees Gordon up to challenge for the more forward roles, perhaps. I don't think it's a case of one or the other, is it? For me, I think it just brings the level of the squad up. That's always going to create healthy competition. It's not necessarily negative competition.
All right, Steve.
You know what it is? I saw that a little bit. Yeah, he does need loaned out the Championship. I was talking to an ex-pro who said that Elliot Anderson needs to learn how to run a game. He needs to learn how to run in a game as well as running the game itself. He's a bit of he's like a hare that's just been released, and he runs and runs, and there's no substance. He needs to rein it in. He needs to understand a bit of game management. I think you'll get that in the Championship. He's on a totally different trajectory to Gordon, and he's also done it in an academy that's crap. He's come through a crap academy. I mean that, in the best possible way. We all know the state of Newcastle's academy for years and years. You just have to look at the.
Excuse me, boys.
Yeah, no bother, George. But that's what it is. He needs to go away. He did very, very well at Bristol Rovers, and now he needs that next stage of his career. He needs to toughen up. He needs to be involved where he can get involved and control the game, and he can get to that pace. I don't think he's got the pace of the Premier League in him at the moment, and it's not something that he'll get sitting on his backside. Do
you think the championship's the right place for him, though, really?
Well, where else?
We're not at the point where the gulf between the Premier League and the Championship is so wide that alone at the Championship it doesn't actually do much to enhance the players' development.
No, I think that I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that he did well in the lower leagues, and I think the Championship's the next stage for him. And I think there are some good teams in the Championship, and I think that it's very competitive.
I would disagree entirely with you, Steve. I think there's two good teams in the Championship, and I think below that they're all much of a muchness, and they're not much better than League One.
For me, I think that Elliot Anderson had a real climb last year at Bristol Rovers, and Elliot Anderson if you like, given responsibility to get a team promoted. He was the difference maker on some of those games where he ran games, which is where Steve Acey's coming from. It's one thing running around in a game. It's another thing bossing a game. And he's not going to get the chance at Newcastle to boss a game, not at Premier League level, because he hasn't got the age or experience to do that. So I think the only way that lad's ever going to get a chance to boss a game is to play under 23s, which you say that the level isn't the same, or to go out. And one of the John Allen's just posted something there, which I think is very valid. You've got a cracking footballing man in Middlesbrough. It's just down the road, and I do believe in them. I think Middlesbrough's head coach has got a cracking brain, and he's seen a lot of good people develop. And your dad hit something the other week. George said the other day. He says, and this comes to what Steve Acey just said. He said an ex-pro said he needs to learn to run around. And George touched it last week or a week before. It was perfect. Is if you get Elliot Anderson, it's not happening for him, and he's trying to super impress with 10-minute cameos, the only thing he's going to do is try harder. He's going to try harder, and he's going to run harder. And I think George touched it the other day. Trying harder and running harder doesn't make you a better player. Sometimes you've got to slow everything down, and you've just got to sit there and think, right. And Steve Hasty, John Allen, as you said, it is. If you send him to Middlesbrough, like at least he's got a chance to be a big player there and to grow, because I think the lad's still growing. I think he will make a career at Newcastle. I think he's a totally different prospect. I don't think there's any competition with Gordon. I think he is more of a football and midfield player. But I don't think this Newcastle... Let's suppose we get 3 players in, right? Let's suppose we bring Madison, we bring Gordon in, we bring another. That's 3 more to compete with. That's 3 more that he's bringing off the bench.
That's when you do maybe look at Anderson. But I'm still not convinced there's any difference between him going to the Premier League, going to the Championship or the League One. I think outside the 2 teams in the Championship, you look where the Mackhams are in the Championship. And they came up through the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? And I think from about 3rd place down to about 3rd bottom, there's the width of a gnat's chuff between all of those teams, and it's not very good.
Well,
and so I think I would be quite happy for him to go to League One and boss League One again, because I don't think would all you'll get in the Championship is kicked. Because I think that's the only way that certain teams in the Championship are picking up points by kicking. And that's not going to toughen them up. It's not like it's not 20 years ago. It's a totally different setup.
I just don't think he's going to get it at Newcastle, because I don't think he's going to get the game time. To Steve Acey just got a point. He said he needs to learn. He does make some runs that aren't where he's in the wrong places at times. And I think the harder it tries, as George pointed out the other week, the more he'll get in the wrong positions. I think he needs time, nurturing, and I don't think that time's in a Premier League game at Newcastle. I don't get us wrong. I think he'll learn. I think he'll learn in training with him. But I think I'm with Johnny Allen on this. I'd send him down to Middlesbrough. That's what I would do. I'd send him to Middlesbrough.
Just so everybody knows, by the way, the pool balls in the background are Chelsea Rob. He's got a pool table in the front eye.
My concern with him is he's 20-year-old, and I think if he stays in the squad, then it's another year wasted in his career, because he's not going to get a game. Yeah. And I don't think he's going to learn anything. And I think when you look at the players that we've been talking about in previous weeks that we've been linked with, who are 18 and 19 from Europe, and you're thinking there must be light years ahead of them. They're coming in at big money, and we've got a 20-year-old here. And he could, if he's not careful, he could end up like a Dan Balassa. You know, he could end up having to go to come back up again. And this is the danger, because the academy's been so crap for years. And I don't think there's been no progression. He got that little spell last season where he went with Joey Barton, and apart from that, he's just a big fish in a very, very still pond.
It wouldn't upset me if he went back to Joey Barton, to be honest.
That's what I said.
Fair enough.
Rovers.
Yeah, I would agree. There's a question there which I'll open up to the whole panel. We do ask George on a Wednesday night, but I'll get your question, Sean. And he's just saying, would it be a good idea for Newcastle to link up with another team is a bit of a second string team. I mean, I've always said they should do that with Gateshead, Mitch. You know what I mean? It's a club which is on our doorstep and feeding not necessarily Elliot Anderson, but academy players who want that bit of experience in the in a higher level in the non-league. It's a good ground. It's a good place to ground it.
It would. I think it's worth maybe analysing what Man City have done with the various City group teams and how much good has it done then. And is that something we should be looking at? Certainly, there was a Belgian club that Man United had a tie-in with a long time ago, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And that seemed to do them the world of good. And we certainly need to be,
Royal Antwerp.
We need to be exploring what kind of opportunities we have on a global basis like that.
Sean's suggesting Hearts.
But if we could bring that to a more local level, that's great. I guess because they're only an hour by train up the road, Hearts become an interesting option. It's certainly a club we could forge links with. Wouldn't be overstepping certain barriers within football or the restrictions within football. I'm damn sure they could do with the boost to their squad depth that certain talented young men like they've got a young Australian there at the moment. Add another 3 or 4 from us into there, and then that probably puts them into the mix in the Scottish League a little bit more heavily, because the Scottish League needs something. It can't just go on and survive on Rangers Celtic all the time. Could we be the disruptor for that by forging a link with Hearts? I don't know. It's certainly something, because if they have potentially European football on the table there, then blooding young players with them at a wider level, at a continental level. And that's kind of what we need, and the way we need to be looking forward. If we're talking about creating the squad that compete on 4 or 5 fronts every season.
Yeah. Remember when Mike Ashley sent them all to Glasgow Rangers?
For £2.50 in a bag of balls.
Exactly. He's cool. He's gone to Hearts simply because they've already got 2 or 3 Australians there, and it
makes sense.
And that was absolutely spot on. So whoever thought that one through, and whether it came from players that he was part of the World Cup squad with, and somebody had a word in there, that seemed good. In terms of Gateshead or Blythe or going further afield, people used to talk about Hartlepool or Darlow. Obviously, Darlow not in the league anymore. It's an interesting concept, but I think doing it with an English club or a Scottish club would create its own problems. And I think the other teams that we've got who have linked up with teams in Europe, like you mentioned, Man United, Man City, they've got links with European clubs. Chelsea, Chelsea have been lending players to the Dutch league and the Belgian league for God knows how many years now. And I think that's probably more sensible. But you've got to have a good infrastructure behind you to be able to make sure that the players are going to the right clubs, that are going to get the right sort of coaching. Because otherwise, all you're doing is just sending somebody abroad or sending them another club and forgetting about them. It's got somewhere where they're going to get good coaching. Are they going to get good coaching at Blythe Spartans or at Gateshead, who are basically still, I'm not saying amateur, but they're part-time.
I know Shola's taken a lot of stick for some of the stuff he's done in his role, but that was one of the things he seemed to try and touch on when he was in Riyadh talking to him, was that he wanted to be more involved, and Eddie Howe's got him more involved with the first team, because he wants to ensure that the players going out on loan are getting the kind of things that Eddie Howe wants them to get. And so I think that makes perfect sense to you.
Yeah. Michael says he was hoping for a little more investment in our junior ranks, Keith, this window. It's a mess beneath the first team. We need significant influx in talent. We're so bereft of young talent. It's an interesting one, Keith, isn't it? Because, most of us are just, you can be focused on the first team, Keith, but ultimately it's you know, we do need to start strengthening the foundations as well, don't we?
We'll go back to the last question. That it would be great if we could just do a tie with Barcelona, where we could have some of their players, they could have some of ours. That would be a perfect club to get associated to. But I suppose there's not much chance of that. But if you talk about kids, I think Newcastle
They're desperate enough for cash, Keith. You never know.
You never know. They might just do it. But there was a time when they started, you know, before the winter started. You remember Christian Besiktas come over from Argentina, and the kid Perón was tracked and traced, and you know that was somebody I think Newcastle were confident of bringing to the club. £12 million, and he was, because whenever you've got a team that's flat like that, it has. I mean, it was not so long ago. It was beaten 5 consecutive weeks on the spin, and when that happens, you know you need to lift it. And one of the ways to lift it is to bring some good people in and put them in there, because they'll lift their standards and lift those people around them. And that Perón was coming here. Man City got in. And if an agent turns around to Man City and says, Newcastle's going to buy him, give us $2 million, transferred it, and I'll make sure he comes to you with the same money. It is petty cash, you know. If they see videos, that Perón looked a great player, you know, the Argentinian kid. And they got him. Next one is we went after Santos from Brazil. It was looked like a complete baller. He played a tournament the other night for Chelsea. It was unbelievable. We went in for him. The agent put it out there. Chelsea got him. So I think we are trying to get them players. We've got Kowal, but the next two we're supposed to be looking at is Franca, who's they're saying that Newcastle's messed them around. They want 20 million, but we went into 11, 12, 13, and the last bid was supposed to be 14 plus. And now the club is saying they don't want to talk Newcastle. So I think we are trying to get them. Gabriel, another one who's a 20 million Brazilian. So if them kind of players come, they sound like fringe first team players, but you know, just the presence of those humans coming in, and when Kowal comes off loan back to the club, they're going to make an impact. But I just don't think it's easy anymore signing some of these players. And I think the players that the strengthening which people talked about, I think you can spend 5 million these days, because we've just hit a good point earlier where what was 30 million got you like a Botman or something. It's now 50, 55. I think this season, I think the levels have just jumped up. But I think they have for kids as well, because before, if you spent 10 plus million on a kid, he had to be nailed on. But now it looks as though that's going to 16, 20 million for kids. So it's
the other thing as well, Keith, is now has FFP applications, which before didn't.
Yeah, for bringing kids in.
And so I think we have this very delicate balance to play in terms of where FFP is until we've got, because I saw somebody talking about sponsorships on the chat there, you know, until we've got some of these bigger sponsorships in place, until we've got some of these deals in place, ratified, signed off, and everything's there, and the books start to balance more in my favour, so we start to be a bit more like Chelsea and a bit more laissez-faire with our spending, then we've got to prioritise where we really need it. And we're not going to be able to do all of that without, for example, Champions League football. Therefore, the first team becomes a priority to a degree. However, if we can then go along the way and pick up young players at great prices and in great stages of their career, like Guyo, then great. It's win-win. But what it means, we'll probably be restricted from going out and saying to Palmeiras, right, your 18-year-old will give you 20 million for him. I don't think we can play that game at the moment. I don't think we're in a position to.
But Chelsea and Man City are playing it, and they
they are.
Yeah, the kid that's
they've got the jump on with. You know, I love how they're all playing the rules as a movable feast. Oh, Chelsea have found this way around FFP. They're doing this one. We're going to stop that right now. However, it's not given any other club a chance to do that. Chelsea have already got the jump on everyone. They've done it. I still think it's folly. I still think it'll backfire. I still think they're going to be left with 2 or 3 duck eggs on big money over a long period of time who they can't get rid of and they really desperately want to get rid of, but nobody's going nowhere. You know, again, 2 words, Henry Savier. And so that's the way they think they can play it, because they've got somebody in Todd Bowley who thinks it works like American football, and it bloody well doesn't. And so crack on and see where it goes, but we have to play it a totally different way, unfortunately.
I just think it's going to be
look
hard.
at the changes they've had in the academy, though. Look at the changes they've had. Look at the people who have gone through that academy. It seems like there's a revolving door that just seems to. It's like Harry Potter world, isn't it? They go to a revolving door, and then you can go down a different corridor with a different job. I mean, how many jobs has Ben Dawson had? You know, how many jobs has Winskill had? You know, how many jobs has Steve Harper had in the last 4 years? Different titles. Is it the same job with a different title? Is it 2 jobs? You know, Richardson, he left. Redfern left. Joyce. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows who's actually running the academy anymore. And it maybe I'm being a little bit critical there because, you know, we've now got Dan Ashworth and he's trying to put a structure in place. So he's now trying to, you know, he's had time to assess and he's looking at them and saying, right, well, I think your role should be this. The big thing is, you know, they've been so crap for so long. The academy has been so crap for so long. And a lot of those people have been involved in the academy for years, you know, and so you've got to start questioning the personnel as well, not just the style of football or the way that the kids are being treated, because we're letting down the Elliot Andersons of this world by not having it. I mean, you get situations where kids get taken into the academy and his brother goes to the academy as well, because if his brother doesn't go, he's not going to go because that's the way the parents run it, you know. All of that type of crap that goes on right at the lower level all the way through. And it annoys you. And it must annoy people who can see talent out there and that talent is not getting a shot because they basically identify someone at 7 and then that's it, you know, and it just rolls through and it becomes entitlement. And it frustrates me. It really frustrates me that you've got people doing roles and the same names rolling through time and time again, and yet the academy's got no better. Has the academy got no better because the physical part of the academy, the infrastructure is poor, or is it something to do with the coaches?
The intention was very different now at the minute. I mean, if you look at the situation with the lad from Sunderland, Rig, I was speaking to, you'll know his name, Steve, because I've told you about him. He's the former boyfriend of a certain chief executive at Sunderland. He was in today and we had a good catch up and chat. And he's convinced that Rig's coming in Newcastle United. He says the club, Sunderland are trying very, very hard to stop it, but they just won't. They're resigned to losing them to it. And I think that shows a very different intent on our part.
But to compete, we need a lot more. And if you look at how many people Man City's loaned out, I mean, if you look at how many Man City players have gone to Sunderland and Man United players have gone to Sunderland, like on loan, and you look at how many Forest, before they got promoted, Forest got promoted with loan players last year, and that was all from these top clubs. So I don't think these players are bringing an odd lad from Sunderland, which sounds like a baller, sounds a cracking player, or the kid we've got up at Hearts. I think these people have got 10, 20 kids in the top notch that they've brought from Argentina, Brazil, Peru, and they just found them out the clubs, and they've maybe got 3 shoulder Amigos players in them. But I'm Steve is I've been told from a good source that there's a lot of money going into new positions within the academy and within that. So I think there's a massive investment there at the minute, which hopefully will reap benefits. I don't think these people will do anything other than install KPIs and monitor it working. But I think Steve Acey's did it right. It's been so poor for so long that young Chris Rigg is a Newcastle supporter. It makes it different. But an average kid looking around and looking at the facilities that we had at Benwell, and then looking at the facilities and the league positions of the teams. So we've got a poor team, poor results, awful facilities, and an unsettled staff. Nobody's going to go there. So it sounds like it's ripping apart, but I think we need to make an investment. And Steve Wraith asked the question, are we going to invest in it? I think we've tried to put some real proper investments in this year. Some real people. I think we're looking at people that's 12, 16 and 20 million, the 3 we're looking at. Up to now, we've not got none of them, but apparently we're still in for Frank and we're still in for Gabriel. So let's see what
I would say about Rig, all I would say about Rig is the fact that we're going after him at 16. Who in our academy didn't spot him at 12 or 13 or 14 or 15? Because it's the same coaches that are
especially as he's supposed to be a Newcastle fan.
Yeah.
And the other thing with all of this discussion about these players and coming and going, if we get players, we've got to make sure they get game time. And that's the thing that frustrates me. There aren't many opportunities for players to get game time. You know, we have different levels, but we don't have the levels that we used to have. I mean, history lesson. When I was at Newcastle as a schoolboy, there was first team, Central League, third team in the Northern Alliance, fourth team in the Northern Combination, the nursery team in the Northern Intermediate League, and the junior team in the Newcastle District Junior League. All those teams had to be serviced with players. So players were getting plenty of game time. And they used to use the A and B team as well as the Central League to nurse players from the first team back after injury. And the other thing they used to do is they used to let players go out to local clubs as what they used to call permit players. They just used to give them permission to go and play for, well, I spent time at Wallsend Rising Sun. I spent time at Bishop Auckland because there was one criteria. If you went, you had to play. And it was about getting game time, where now all those local teams have disappeared and the local leagues have disappeared. So the opportunity to give people game time seems to have reduced, in my eyes anyway.
Yeah, good points. Well made. Julie said, I've got to put my hand up now to speak on my own show.
Yes.
What I was going to say, Julie, and actually it's quite apt that you were the one who pointed that out, was that if we did sign Gabriel, then dreams could come true.
Oh, goodness.
Good
Goals there, Steve.
Look,
Hey,
the
George, you're down with the kids. You even knew what I meant. Brilliant.
cracking player all the same at Gabriel. What?
Anyways, well, he is, yeah, 100%. John Justice Allen's quiz for all the members who paid for the 25 one-off membership fee. There's your first one, 1st to the 4th, 1957. Your second clue, which is this week's clue, is 1986 to 1988. 2 more clues to come and a question, and a prize will be given out. Okay, 5-10 minutes left to bid on the Nobby Solano t-shirt. This will be signed by Nobby. So get your bid in now for the food bank on my Twitter at Steve Wraith. £25 it is at the minute. I'll finish that in about 10 minutes time, and then we'll be putting this one up. We got in, I think, before anybody else. We can't be accused of copying. Flash Gordon, the Flash Gordon t-shirt. Now, I don't think that'll be signed, but it's a nice t-shirt. You'll be the first person to walk around Newcastle with it before somebody copies the idea. But there you go, Flash Gordon t-shirt to celebrate the new acquisition. That'll be the next food bank t-shirt going up at some point tonight. But make sure you bid on the Nobby Solano one. £25 the top bid so far. Get yourself on there at Steve Wraith and place your bid underneath. Okay, time for the men in white coats to come in for Keith. First up, it's always nice when it actually looks like Steve Hasty, and this one from...
And this one doesn't. And this one doesn't.
Steve's going to be wearing that tonight, I think, at the Irish Centre. Guess who?
Brilliant.
Steve on his getting a shower before then. Bugger Lugs, thanks for this one. Just put a question mark. Dog lovers. Steve coming out of the box. And this one. Hi, Nick, look like Hasty in the bath.
That's nice. That's lovely. Lovely little.
On its feet there. And there's Steve on his way out, says Andrew. Mr. Hasty out for a drive.
Yes.
I wish the RSPCA would watch this program.
They probably do. Rita didn't even apologize today. There was 3 photos of dogs together. And she said, there we go. And
the one on the bottom's a ringer.
Thanks for chippers for this one. Steve Hasty getting a new perm.
My good God.
And the most surreal one was this one from Albert. He went, I know it's his wallpaper, but I'm sure even Big Al's taking the pee out of Hasty.
And what did I reply? You wouldn't dare.
You wouldn't dare. Exactly. Okay, thanks for those people. This one, Albert says, Keith's fishy double.
Albert, you're terrible to me.
What?
I can't decide on the lookalike in the sky. Is it Keith or is it Stu? I think it's Stu, that.
Stu, aye. Stu.
Very like Stu.
Too fat
This
for me.
one, Paul Palpatine, thank you. He says Ben Jacobs and Craig Dawson.
That's spot on, that, mate.
Guy.
Yeah, very good.
Excellent. This one from War Flags. Tim Kern sent it in. Who's it supposed to be? Steve Wraith having a Havana on a flag. Excellent. From Man City. These ones from Tom Dixon, Philip Senderos and Charlie Brown.
Fantastic.
Very
That's
good.
great.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Edison Cavani as Tarzan.
Yes. That's been mentioned a few times. That's a good one, that.
Carlos Tevez and Muttley. And Alex Ferguson.
And a bloke dog.
Oh, dear me.
Brilliant. Wayne Bennett, I wonder who Zaha got his hairstyle from.
Oh, that's class, that.
Very good. Very, very good, that one. I like that. This one, Kieran Dyer from Rob Parkin. He looks like the hood of
Alright.
Thunderbirds.
I hope Thunderbird talks more sense.
He wasn't the only one to send that in, actually. Somebody else did a little bit later
Very
on. I'm
good.
sure I'll find that. Anthony Gordon and Stan Laurel from Guy Carr.
Good enough, cheers, lad.
And Anthony Gordon at the match in front of Amanda Stabley, which caused a
Aye.
stir on Twitter. That was hilarious.
Funny,
It
that.
was.
Thanks for that, Kaz. Jimmy Wilson
Right.
and wee Jimmy Cranky. Very good. And Gabby and Mr. Potato Head. This is from
Yeah.
Rita.
Get more sense out of the potato
I
head.
was going to say that's a bit harsh on Mr. Potato Head, I think.
Adam Armstrong and Russell Crowe. Bloody hell. Adam Armstrong will be happy with
Ooh.
that.
Nice.
Rita.
Yeah. Jeez.
Guy Carr, got to be a lookalike. Eddie Howe and Jamie Vardy.
Nah.
Nah.
That's unfair on it. That's unfair on Eddie, that.
It is. And this one from Rita as well. Neil Warnock and Freddie Krueger.
Christ.
Jesus Christ. Go in there, Warner.
Wow.
Jeez.
Jack McCann sent this one in. The Lion King and Anthony Gordon.
Yes, that's funny, that.
Very
Like
good.
that, Jack.
He has got a bit of a lion's mane.
Yeah.
We've had this before, Mozza, but Howard Foster and Mike Ashley.
Yes.
It's always nice to
That's
revisit that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Poor Steve Cooper.
Just a fish like it's any dog, isn't it? You know?
I mean, anyway.
I love-
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, if
I love what somebody said about Steve Cooper. He always looks like he's just come out with a headlock.
he does actually, doesn't he? He does. It's a brilliant way of describing it. John Joe Shelley returning to England from his stint in Turkey. There's a few photographs of Shelby being dolled up with hair. This is brilliant. Hello, Steve. Hope you're good. This is for lookalikes from Olivia. She said, Kevin looks like Jamie Vardy. Very good.
Yes.
Kevin off Monday Night Show. Yeah, really good that. And a big shout out to Olivia. It was nice to hear from you and your dad this week. Thanks for sending the lovely messages over to everybody and wishing the show well. It was great to hear from you. And hopefully we will see you at a match again soon. And she loves the lookalikes, by the way, especially the Steve Hasty ones. Tim Cairns, pretty good this. A little baby pig in Holland.
It's really good, that.
It is. It's really good. This one from Chris Chaffee. One for the lookalikes. This one was from me missus, because I swear I don't watch it. Lucien Laviscount from Emily in Paris and Mr. Callum Wilson. Very good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I see that.
Very good.
Yeah.
Really like that one. Top two for me this week. This one, he said that looked, somebody sent us that and said it looked a bit like me. I'll take that. Thanks very much. That's why that's number two. And this is my favorite one. This is my favorite one. Dean Spitty. Nick Pope is that good. He hoys his coat on and sits with the fans between goal kicks.
There's Stewie Penman just above him, look.
There's two penmen there. Brilliant. You cannot see Kitty's on his back. But that's the lookalikes. That's the lookalikes for this week. Keep them coming in. The more hasty, the better, please. Wow, I thought that was Wilson. Hey, Michael, honestly.
So did I.
That is freaky, mate. It really, really is. Anthony Gordon and Beaker from the Muppets. And political bias says Steve Hasty's a handsome woman.
Oh, cheers.
All right, lads, we've got the semi-final coming up, second leg on Tuesday. That's the only game we can really speak about before we're finished, and we've got to get off to the Warren Barton talking. So, Mitch, you know, it's not a formality. We didn't have a team photograph at the end of it, but it's at home. You've got the 12th man. Southampton have got a cup game at the weekend. Newcastle's had a week off. They'll be buoyed, hopefully, by one, if not another signing before Tuesday. Newcastle's got this, haven't they, Mitch?
We've got to see it out. Just be professional. We have home advantage. They have to come with us. We can't just sit back. They're behind from kickoff. We just have to be professional about it. If we do everything that we are good at, and we control the game like we can control the game, we are solid at the back like we know we are solid at the back. And the difference is, can we take those early chances? I think Rob's absolutely right there. Quick goal kills them off. And we had enough chances the other night to kill the tie off. We should have come away 2 or 3, really. So I think for me, it's all about just being professional and seeing it out. I can't see why we cannot do that. I think it would be a genuine upset if we don't. But we've got to respect Southampton as a team. We've got to remember they put Man City away in the previous round. They're not nuggets. And so as long as we are on our mettle and do everything right, do the basic things right, do the simple things right, we should have more than enough to put them away. And I'm thinking I'm with Keith in terms of we should ride the hot hand. And if ASM and Isaac are champing at the bit to go, we should let them off the leash and say, right, show us what you can do, kidder. You show me what you can do in the first 20 minutes of this game. Put this game out of sight from Southampton. And then really, everybody's in the mix going forward for every game that we play. And so it's just about being professional and seeing it out, because we've given myself the platform to do it.
Yeah, I would agree. An early goal would be nice as well, to be honest, Keith, wouldn't it? If we could get ahead, like, you know, early doors and you know, just kill off any lingering hopes of Southampton getting back into it.
I think it's a game of two halves of a team. I think we've got the best defence in the league. So I think for me, honestly, I'd be picking the great back four we've had that's got us there. I'd be putting Popey in, and I'd be putting Bruno, Joe Linton, and Longstaff in the middle. And I'd say, right, nothing's getting past these 8 people. So you 3, Almiron, Isaac, and ASM, go and rip them to shreds. Just get in there and any ball spills, just get it, just press, and the midfield will be behind you. And it's no brainer for me. You know, I think Willock will do well from the rest. I think Wilson would, and I just think that you can't. You've got some big league games coming up. You know, you've got Liverpool come, you've got Brighton come, teams like that, where we've got to get back on our mettle and we've got to be able to score goals in these games that we're being drawn. But never a better opportunity, because, you know, it'll be a scary event if we don't score a goal on Tuesday night. You know what I mean? You're then praying that they don't score. We should take it out beyond that. As Mitch says, we should be going for the jugular. We should be, you know, we've that team we've got there now, and the team that finished, it's all capable of getting 2 early goals against them, just putting it beyond doubt. But we're a far better side. And what I liked, and I really respect, was their manager. You know, he said undoubtedly, you know, Pope is the best keeper in the Premiership. I think he's right, but it's the defence, and he said the size here. You know, there's so many people 6 foot plus, and it's a hard team to come against. And you know, this isn't a chance. This isn't a bit of a fluke. Newcastle's, the lads kept 10 clean sheets. The team, the defence is rock solid, and even if Southampton scored against us, we can still score 2 or 3 goals next week, and it shouldn't be close. You know, and I'm not disrespecting Southampton. I'm just saying that Newcastle side, at home, under them lights, with this crowd, we should go there, should rip them a new one. And you know, like Man United went down there and smashed Forest. We should crucify Southampton. And it's about confidence. It's about what comes on the league games. It's a fact that we haven't had a game this Saturday. It's a fact that we're missing games. We're not playing in Europe. And then once we get to the final, we can then start bringing the likes of Gordon and whoever else we sign through and start nurturing this team and getting chances. But Southampton Tuesday night, we've got to go for them. We've got to go for them for the first minute. And when they think they're coming up here and we're going to sit back, we want to frighten the shit out of them and go for the jugular from the first minute and just go and go and go. And our pressing game will take us to Wembley.
Okay. What's your thoughts, George?
Well, just to repeat what Keith said, I can't see. The other thing is at home, I can't see Longstaff and Joe Linton and Willock missing chances like that at home that they did at Southampton. And I just feel that there's nothing for us to sit back for. Playing for a 1-0 victory would be absolute suicide, in my opinion. I think I said on Wednesday night, Steve, when I saw the Southampton team, I was amazed that the manager hadn't got Armstrong and the Scots lad, Che Adams, in their team. And because I could see from what they did against Manchester City and against Chelsea, they had the potential to be a danger to us. And when they came on and they played together, that's exactly what happened. In fact, they nearly got a goal because of it. And not, except Armstrong managed to touch it with his hand. So no, I would have a go for this. And we should have been 2 or 3-0 up at half time at Southampton. Let's get 2 or 3-0 up at half time at St James's Park and have the players bouncing and give the fans some reward for their loyalty and their persistence. And that's what I'm hoping for anyway.
Steve, your views?
This is when we find out the professionalism of the squad. This is where we find out how dedicated they are and how professional they are and how they go about it. You know, they don't panic. As Keith and Neil have said, it's just half time. You know, there's another 90 minutes to go. We've just got to, as a fan base, as a supporters on Tuesday night, we've just got to remain calm. We've just got to let the lads get on with the job, not get on their back if things aren't going. Remember, there's always a section. We heard it down at Southampton. There's a section of the fan base who panic at every attack that comes against us. Every loose ball, they'll moan and they'll groan. We've got to get away from that. We've just got to let the team go out, play their game, and as I say, we'll see how professional they really are. I've got the utmost confidence in the entire squad that will come away with a result. I'm not going to count my chickens though, because Southampton do have the ability, as you say, that they showed it against Liverpool. They've shown it against various other teams this season that they can put a performance in when they want. So let's not think it's just going to be a foregone conclusion. But my money's on us to go through. I'm not going to say that we're going to absolutely hammer them. It's going to be 4 or 5. I'll be quite happy if at the end of the game it was 1-0 and we just get through, because that's the most important feature. Professional, get to the final, and then we can start to celebrate. But as somebody mentioned, we've got some big games coming up after this, and we've got to keep the momentum going. So looking forward to it. Remember, everybody, it's an 8 o'clock kickoff as well, not 7:45. So you get an extra 15 minutes in the pub.
And
can I just say something at this point as well to you lot, including me dad? I come on a flight back tomorrow. It's my mum's funeral on Monday. I was very happy to sit at home on Tuesday and watch the game with my dad. You lot, including you, Dad, have colluded to make sure that I have a ticket for the game. And I'm very blessed to have you as me dad and you lot as me mates. And thank you, all of you, for all you do.
Well, Neil, in its simplest form, you've heard me for the last nearly all your bloody life, me telling you about your granddad going to the cup and what it's like to go to a semi-final and all the rest of it. This is your semi-final, and I want you to be able to say, I was there. I was there. You know, if it wasn't for these bloody eyes, you know where I would be.
I know where you'd be.
I want you to be able to say you were there.
Well done, George.
Don't worry, Neil. You're in level 7. It's an obstructed view.
Twat.
I love it. I just want to say thank you to Don, who's in the chat. He's not on Twitter, but courtesy of John from QTech, he has placed the winning bid for the Nobby Solano t-shirt, £250.
Wow.
Don, you have won £250 of the food bank. So thank you very much for that. And thanks to everybody in the chat, as always. And Julie, you might have missed me singing tonight, but you haven't missed this. Glue Sniffer.
Hey!
It's a new one. And let's finish with a little bit of humour.
Moldy glue sniffer, but not just glue sniffer.
Let's finish with a little bit of humour. I once impressed a woman with a bottle of lemonade. Swept her off her feet.
Oh,
God's sake.
Oh, God.
man.
Is that supposed to be some kind of tonic?
Yeah!
Hey!
I know it's hit the right chord when George goes, oh no. Have a great weekend, chatters. Have a great weekend. Make sure you hit the like button, the little thumb underneath, and make sure you subscribe. We're 3 away from that magic figure of 40.
And as somebody just said on Twitter, don't forget, when he signs, Gordon is no longer a moron.
Exactly. Take care, lads.
See you later, lads.
Take care.